I stood frozen outside the glass conference room, watching my entire team laugh at something Brad said. My stomach twisted into knots. Through the transparent walls, I could see the expensive suits of our investor firm representatives. Then Mr. Harrison, the lead investor, leaned forward with a confused expression. His lips moved, and though I couldn't hear through the glass, I read them perfectly. "Where's Alex? Why isn't he here?" Brad's face drained of color. His mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. My hands trembled as I gripped my laptop tighter. 4 months of work and they'd locked me out. My badge had beeped red at the door, access denied. The humiliation burned through my chest like acid. How could they do this after everything I'd sacrificed? After all those sleepless nights, missed dinners, and abandoned weekends? I watched Brad stammer something to Mr. Harrison, gesturing wildly. The investor's expression shifted from confusion to suspicion. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might explode. This was the moment everything changed. 4 months earlier, I'd been excited about the Henderson project. Brad had called me into his office with that fake friendly smile he wore when he needed something. "Alex, you're perfect for this," he'd said, sliding the project brief across his desk. I'd stayed until midnight that first week, mapping out strategies and building the foundation. The architecture I designed was revolutionary, something that could transform how our company handled client data. I remember the coffee-stained notebooks filled with diagrams, the endless lines of code I'd written while everyone else went home. Brad would stop by occasionally, looking over my shoulder, asking questions. I'd explained everything eagerly, thinking he wanted to understand. I was such a fool. He'd nod thoughtfully, take notes, then disappear. The next morning, I'd hear him in meetings presenting my ideas as his own. "I think we should implement a modular framework," he'd say, using my exact words. Nobody questioned it. Nobody asked where these brilliant insights came from. I was too junior, too invisible. The betrayal hit me like a truck when I discovered the truth. I'd been searching my email for an old attachment when I accidentally opened my trash folder. There they were, dozens of deleted meeting invites. My hands shook as I clicked through them. Henderson Project Strategy Session, Client Alignment Meeting, Investment Review Discussion. Every single one had been sent to me, then immediately deleted from my inbox. But email systems keep records. I could see the timestamps, Brad's name as the organizer, and the deletion logs showing his account had removed my access. He deliberately blocked me from key discussions about my own project. I sat there staring at the screen, my coffee growing cold beside me. The office buzzed around me with its usual Friday energy, but I felt completely alone. My chest tightened with anger so intense I could barely breathe. But I didn't confront him. Something stopped me. Instead, I took screenshots of everything, backed them up to 3 different locations, and began planning my next move carefully. I spent the next 2 weeks documenting everything. Every email I'd sent about the project, every line of code I'd written, every design file I'd created. I organized them chronologically, building an undeniable timeline of my contributions. Late at night, after everyone left, I'd pull up my files and add to the evidence pile. Design mock-ups with my digital signature and timestamp. Code repositories showing my commits and annotations. Client feedback emails where they specifically mentioned appreciating my technical explanations. I created a master document titled Project Henderson, Complete Development History. It was 60 pages long, filled with irrefutable proof. My friend Tony from college worked in intellectual property law. I sent him an encrypted copy, asking him to review it. "This is solid," he texted back. "If anyone tries to dispute your role, this documentation would hold up anywhere." I saved everything to a secure cloud drive, shared access with my personal email, and printed a physical copy that I locked in my apartment safe. The anger transformed into something colder, sharper, strategic. Opportunity came from an unexpected place. Brad had been so focused on the main Henderson presentation that he'd ignored a smaller client demo request. Patterson Industries wanted to see our data integration capabilities before committing to expansion. Brad dismissed it in our team meeting. "Small potato," he'd said, waving his hand dismissively. Someone junior can handle it. I volunteered immediately. Brad barely looked up from his phone. Fine, whatever, just don't embarrass us. I spent 3 days preparing a flawless presentation. The demo went perfectly. I explained our system architecture, demonstrated real-time data processing, and answered every technical question with confidence. Watching their faces light up with understanding felt incredible. Mr. Peterson, a junior partner at the investment firm, attended that meeting. Afterward, he shook my hand firmly. "That was impressive, Alex. Really impressive. You clearly know this system inside and out." I saw Brad across the office later, staring at me with narrowed eyes. He'd heard about my successful demo. Good, let him worry. Brad's retaliation came during our next team meeting. We were reviewing progress updates when he suddenly interrupted my report. "You know what I've noticed," he said, leaning back in his chair with that smug expression. "Some people are just too slow for big clients. They get buried in details instead of seeing the bigger picture." His eyes locked on mine. "That's why leadership requires vision, not just technical skill." A few people chuckled nervously. I felt heat creeping up my neck, but I kept my expression neutral. "You're absolutely right, Brad," I said calmly. "Vision without execution is just hallucination. Fortunately, we have both on this project." His smile faltered slightly. I continued presenting my update, keeping my voice steady despite my racing heart. After the meeting, several coworkers gave me subtle nods of approval. Brad had overplayed his hand and people noticed, but I knew he'd underestimated me. He saw me as weak, easily intimidated. He had no idea what I was planning. That was his biggest mistake. I found an unexpected ally in Lisa Chen, a senior analyst who'd been with the company for 8 years. She'd been marginalized by Brad too, pushed aside despite her expertise. We'd grabbed coffee one afternoon and she'd mentioned casually, "Brad did the same thing to 2 other people before you. Both left the company." My interest sharpened. "Really?" Lisa nodded, stirring her latte slowly. "He's got a pattern. Finds talented people, uses their work to climb higher, then discards them when they might threaten his position." She looked at me directly. "But you're different. You're documenting everything, aren't you?" I hesitated, then nodded. She smiled. "Good, here's what you need to know." Over the next hour, she explained the company's internal politics, who held real power, and how decisions actually got made. She told me about the investor firm structure, how Mr. Harrison valued integrity and hated being misled. "He's old school," she said. "He believes in rewarding actual talent." We became quiet partners after that, sharing information and strategizing carefully. Lisa taught me patience, how to wait for the perfect moment. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. Mr. Peterson, the junior partner who'd attended my demo, stopped me in the hallway one afternoon. "Alex, got a minute?" He led me to an empty meeting room and closed the door. "I've been reviewing the Henderson project details," he said quietly. "Mr. Harrison has some concerns about Brad's leadership. The technical specifications don't match his presentations." My heart raced. "What kind of concerns?" Mr. Peterson studied me carefully. "Between us, the numbers don't add up. Brad talks about innovation, but when we dig deeper, we can't find the substance. Meanwhile, your name keeps appearing in the actual development documentation." He paused. "Mr. Harrison is a thorough man. He doesn't like inconsistencies." I chose my words carefully. "I believe in letting work speak for itself." He smiled slightly. "Smart. Keep doing exactly what you're doing." After he left, I stood there processing what had just happened. The investors were already suspicious. They'd noticed the discrepancies. I didn't need to expose Brad. I just needed to keep excelling and let the truth emerge naturally. The revenge I'd imagined didn't need to be dramatic. It just needed to be inevitable. The opportunity to demonstrate my competence came during a major presentation to the investment committee. Brad was explaining our data security protocols when one of the investors asked a technical question about encryption standards. Brad stumbled, throwing around buzzwords without real substance. I saw confusion rippling through the room. Without thinking, I raised my hand. "If I may clarify," I said, standing up. Brad's eyes shot daggers at me, but the investor nodded for me to continue. I walked to the whiteboard and quickly sketched out our actual encryption architecture, explaining each layer's purpose and how they interconnected. I addressed the specific security concerns, referenced industry standards, and demonstrated how our approach exceeded compliance requirements. The room fell silent. When I finished, Mr. Harrison leaned forward with genuine interest. "That's exactly the kind of detailed thinking we need to see," he said, looking directly at me. Then his eyes shifted to Brad. "Why wasn't this level of clarity in your initial presentation?" Brad's face reddened. "Well, I was simplifying for a broader audience." "Don't," Mr. Harrison said flatly. "We're not a broader audience. We're the people investing millions into this." I returned to my seat, feeling Brad's fury radiating across the room. I scheduled a meeting with HR the following week, framing it as career development discussion. Stephanie Miller, our HR director, welcomed me into her office with genuine warmth. "Alex, it's great to see someone taking initiative about their growth." I'd prepared carefully for this conversation. I didn't complain about Brad directly. Instead, I presented a portfolio of my contributions to the Henderson project, highlighting specific achievements and asking for guidance on advancement opportunities. "These are impressive," Stephanie said, flipping through my documentation. "The project timeline shows you've been central to development since day one." I nodded modestly. "I've really enjoyed the technical challenges." She made notes, her expression thoughtful. "Have you been included in all the strategic planning meetings?" I paused, choosing honesty. "Not all of them, no, but I understand that sometimes leadership needs separate discussions." Stephanie's pen stopped moving. "Interesting," she said quietly, "because according to project protocols, lead developers should attend all strategic sessions." She looked up at me. "I appreciate you bringing this to my attention, Alex. This has been very informative." Her tone told me she understood far more than I'd explicitly stated. Brad's next attempt to claim credit backfired spectacularly. During a client call, he referenced his recent successful demo with Patterson Industries. But I documented everything, including the emails where Brad had dismissed that demo as unimportant and barely glanced at my preparation work. When the client asked for specific details about the technical implementation, Brad fumbled again. "Alex handled the technical minutiae," he said dismissively. The client, Mr. Patterson himself, spoke up. "Actually, I was at that presentation. Alex didn't just handle minutiae. He demonstrated a comprehensive understanding of our integration needs that convinced us to move forward." The silence on the call was deafening. "In fact," Mr. Peterson continued, "we've been so impressed with Alex's expertise that we'd like him specifically involved in our expansion planning." Brad's face went through several shades of red. He tried to recover. "Of course, Alex is a valuable team member, but the damage was done." After the call, Lisa caught my eye across the office and gave me a subtle thumbs up. Brad's credibility was cracking and people were noticing. The best part, I hadn't said a negative word about him. I'd simply let my work speak for itself. I spent my evenings working on something Brad knew nothing about. A comprehensive expansion plan for Henderson Industries that addressed gaps I'd noticed in Brad's approach. He'd focused solely on immediate deliverables, ignoring scalability and long-term growth potential. My proposal outlined a three-phase expansion strategy that could triple client capacity within 18 months. I included detailed technical specifications, cost-benefit analyses, and risk mitigation strategies. Then I did something bold. I reached out directly to Mr. Harrison's office, requesting a brief meeting to discuss potential optimization opportunities for the Henderson project. His assistant scheduled me for the following Tuesday. When I arrived, Mr. Harrison greeted me personally. "Alex, I've been wanting to have a conversation with you." I presented my expansion proposal, walking him through each phase carefully. His questions were sharp and probing, but I'd anticipated them all. "This is remarkable," he finally said, leaning back in his chair. "This level of strategic thinking, where has this been?" I met his gaze steadily. "I've been here the whole time, sir." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "I see." "And Brad is aware of this proposal?" "Not yet," I admitted. Mr. Harrison's expression shifted to something harder. "Interesting." The leak came from someone I didn't expect. Trevor, a junior analyst who reported to Brad, knocked on my apartment door late one evening. He looked nervous, glancing over his shoulder before speaking. "Alex, you need to see this." He handed me a printed document, marked confidential. It was Brad's restructuring proposal for the Henderson team. My name appeared in a section titled Resource Reallocation. The recommendation was crystal clear: remove Alex from client-facing roles, transition him to back-end development only, and assign credit for project architecture to senior leadership. "He's planning to erase you completely," Trevor said quietly. "I couldn't let it happen, not after what I've seen you build." I stared at the document, anger boiling up again. But beneath the anger was something else. Clarity. "Why are you showing me this?" Trevor shifted uncomfortably. "Because it's wrong. Everyone knows you built that system. Brad is stealing your work and someone needs to stop him." I thanked Trevor and spent the rest of the night updating my documentation. Brad had made his move. Now I knew exactly what I was fighting against, and I had proof of his intentions. Invitation came the next morning. Henderson Investment Review Meeting, Main Conference Room, 2 p.m. My name was listed as a required attendee. I prepared like I was going to war. I printed copies of my documentation organized by category. I rehearsed key talking points. I dressed in my best suit, the one I'd bought but never had occasion to wear. When I entered the conference room, Brad's expression flickered with surprise and irritation. "Alex, I don't think you need to be here." Mr. Harrison looked up sharply. "I specifically requested Alex attend. He's been central to this project's technical development." Brad's jaw tightened. "Of course, I just meant he might be more comfortable focusing on development work." "I'm comfortable anywhere I can contribute value," I said calmly, taking a seat directly across from the investors. The meeting began, and Brad launched into his presentation about project milestones and future direction. But this time I was ready. When he glossed over technical challenges, I provided specific details. When he claimed credit for architectural decisions, I referenced dated documentation showing my original designs. I didn't contradict him directly. I simply added context and clarity. Mr. Harrison took notes throughout. The question came 40 minutes into the meeting. Mr. Harrison set down his pen and looked directly at Brad. "I need to understand something. At our last major meeting, Alex wasn't present. When I asked why, you said he was handling other priorities." Brad nodded cautiously. "Yes, that's correct. But according to project records," Mr. Harrison continued, pulling out a document, "Alex is listed as the lead technical architect." "Why wouldn't the lead architect be included in a strategic planning meeting with investors?" The room went silent. Brad's face flushed. "I wanted to handle the high-level strategic discussions first, then loop in technical team members." Mr. Harrison's expression hardened. "That's not how we operate. When we invest in a project, we want access to the people actually building it, not just the managers talking about it." He turned to me. "Alex, I'd like you to walk us through the actual technical development timeline." I opened my laptop and pulled up my documentation. I walked them through every major development phase, showing emails, code commits, and design iterations. I presented the evidence calmly and factually, letting the timestamps and technical details speak for themselves. As I talked, I watched Brad sink lower in his chair. The shift in the room was palpable. Mr. Harrison and the other investors began directing their technical questions to me instead of Brad. They asked about scalability, security protocols, and integration challenges. I answered each question with specific examples and demonstrated expertise. At one point, Mr. Harrison looked at Brad. "You've been presenting this project as your initiative. But this documentation shows Alex designed the core architecture and handled the critical development work." Brad tried to recover. "Well, leadership isn't just about technical execution, it's about vision and strategic direction." "And where did that vision come from?" Mr. Harrison pressed. Brad gestured vaguely. "It was a collaborative team effort." I stayed silent, but Lisa, who'd been invited to present analytics, spoke up. "For the record, Alex presented the original project framework to the team 4 months ago. I have meeting notes if needed." Brad's credibility was unraveling in real time. The investors exchanged meaningful glances. Mr. Harrison made extensive notes. I felt vindication washing over me, but I kept my expression neutral and professional. This wasn't about gloating. This was about truth finally emerging after months of being buried. Just when I thought everything was falling into place, the company announced a major organizational restructuring. New divisions, reshuffled reporting structures, and a freeze on all project leadership changes. Brad seized the opportunity, immediately politicking with the new divisional directors. I watched him schmoozing in hallways, having long lunch meetings with people who'd never been involved with Henderson. My heart sank. He was going to escape consequences by exploiting the chaos of reorganization. Lisa found me in my office looking defeated. "Don't panic," she said firmly. "Restructuring means new eyes on old problems. The new leadership will review all major projects." She was right, but it didn't feel like enough. I'd been so close to recognition, and now everything was uncertain again. That night, I updated my LinkedIn profile and started reaching out to recruiters. Maybe it was time to leave. But then I remembered Mr. Harrison's expression during that meeting, the way he'd looked at Brad with obvious disappointment. The investors weren't subject to internal restructuring. They'd remember what they'd seen. I decided to trust the process one more time. The breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. The new divisional director, Amanda Rodriguez, scheduled one-on-one meetings with all senior project team members. When my turn came, she got straight to the point. "I've been reviewing Henderson project documentation. Your name appears consistently in technical development records, but you're not listed in leadership positions. Explain that to me." I walked her through my role honestly, showing her the same documentation I'd compiled months ago. Amanda listened intently, occasionally asking sharp questions that showed she actually understood technical architecture. "This is exceptional work," she said finally. "Why weren't you in leadership meetings?" I chose my words carefully. "You'd have to ask Brad that question," she nodded slowly. "I already have." His answer wasn't convincing. 2 days later, Amanda announced a new initiative, a high-profile project expanding our platform to 3 new industry verticals. She wanted someone with deep technical expertise and proven innovation to lead it. She chose me. Brad tried to insert himself as oversight, but Amanda shut him down. "Alex will report directly to me. This project requires independent technical leadership." I watched Brad's face as the announcement was made in our team meeting. Brad made one final desperate attempt to undermine me. During my first major milestone presentation for the new project, he interrupted repeatedly with unnecessary questions, trying to make me look unprepared. He challenged my technical decisions, implied I was in over my head, and suggested we needed more experienced oversight. But I'd spent months learning to handle him. I answered each question calmly and thoroughly. When he challenged my architecture decisions, I pulled up comparative analysis showing why my approach outperformed alternatives. When he implied I needed supervision, I referenced my successful track record on Henderson. Amanda watched the entire exchange with narrowed eyes. After the meeting, she called Brad into her office. I didn't hear what was said, but Brad emerged 30 minutes later looking pale and shaken. Lisa texted me later. Amanda ripped him apart for unprofessional behavior and trying to sabotage a company initiative. The next day, Brad was noticeably absent from project discussions. His influence was finally, truly diminishing, and I'd achieved it not through backstabbing or politics, but through consistent excellence and documented competence. The company-wide town hall meeting was where everything culminated. Our CEO wanted to showcase successful projects to boost morale after the restructuring chaos. Amanda had been asked to present on Henderson and my new expansion initiative. I assumed I'd be preparing materials for her to present. Instead, she told me, "You're presenting. You built it, you present it." Standing on that stage in front of 300 employees and the entire investor group felt surreal. I walked through the Henderson project's success metrics, technical innovations, and client satisfaction scores. Then I presented my expansion initiative's early wins and future potential. Mr. Harrison stood up during the Q&A. I want to commend Alex publicly. When we first engaged with this project, we were concerned about leadership and technical capability. Alex has demonstrated both exceptional skill and integrity throughout. He looked directly at Brad, who sat in the back looking miserable. True leadership means recognizing and empowering talent, not suppressing it. The applause was thunderous. Colleagues I barely knew came up afterward to congratulate me. Trevor pumped my fist enthusiastically. Lisa gave me a knowing smile. Brad left the auditorium before the session ended. Brad's final days at the company were pathetic to watch. He tried to rebuild his reputation, volunteering for projects, offering to mentor junior staff, attempting to buddy up to Amanda. But his credibility was destroyed. People who'd once feared him now openly dismissed his input. Project teams specifically requested he not be included in their meetings. The final blow came when Mr. Harrison's investment firm required quarterly reviews with actual project leadership present. Brad wasn't invited to a single one. I was in every meeting, presenting directly to investors, making strategic decisions, building relationships with clients. Everything Brad had tried to steal from me, I'd earned legitimately. 3 months after the town hall, Brad announced his resignation. He called it pursuing new opportunities, but everyone knew the truth. He'd been edged out by his own incompetence and dishonesty. I felt no triumph watching him pack his office. Just a quiet satisfaction that justice had prevailed. Lisa stopped by my office after Brad left. "You did it the right way," she said. "You didn't destroy him, you just outworked him and let the truth speak." That felt right. The revenge wasn't in his destruction, it was in my success. 6 months later, I stood in Amanda's office as she offered me a senior director position, leading technical innovation across all company initiatives. The salary was triple what I'd been making when Brad tried to erase me, but more important than money was the respect. My opinions mattered now. My expertise was valued. My contributions were recognized. I thought about that moment outside the glass conference room, watching Brad stammer excuses to Mr. Harrison. The humiliation I'd felt then had transformed into something powerful, not bitterness but wisdom. I'd learned that competence, documentation, and patience defeat politics and deception every time. I'd started mentoring junior developers, teaching them to document their work, stand up for themselves professionally, and let excellence be their shield. One afternoon, I got an email from Trevor. He'd been promoted to team lead, implementing systems I'd designed. "Thanks for showing me how to do this the right way," he wrote. I looked around my new office with its window view, at the project plans covering my walls, at the team I was building. Brad had tried to make me invisible. Instead, he'd forced me to become undeniable. The best revenge wasn't destruction. It was becoming everything he'd pretended to be, authentically and deservedly. And that success would last long after his failure was forgotten.